There's an old saying that goes, "Those who fail to plan, plan to fail." Though the entire subject of this particular course centers around recording prep in general, there is one document in particular that can really save your hide and give you a better chance at having a productive session. That document is called the Session Tracker. A session tracker is a spreadsheet that has all of the critical information about a set of cues to be recorded in a session. A session tracker can be created using any spreadsheet program, but I use Google Sheets because it's easy to share with my team and clients, and because I can always have access to it as long as I have an internet connection. In the first column, there's a name for the composition. Pretty straightforward. The next couple of columns may seem unnecessary, but they can actually be very useful. When recording for clients, I tend to record a lot of shared sessions. In that case, I might record a half dozen or so compositions from multiple composers in a 3 or 4 hour session. So in my case, a session tracker can easily have 3 or more names on it, and it's important for me to know whose music I'm recording and whose music I'm going to record next. The field for orchestrator is important to me because I often have assistants orchestrate cues for me or for other clients I'm recording, and my assistants are almost always at the session. So if there's an issue or a question, it's good to know who orchestrated the cue so that I can ask questions or have them make changes if the need arises. The next field is designated for instruments. In the simplest of sessions, this just lets me know what instrumentation the cue is, and in other cases, it helps me to organize the breakdown of takes where I might want to have specific sections of the orchestra playing at a time, like I do here. The time signature and tempo sections are pretty obvious, and for pieces that have multiple time signatures or tempos, I would just write in the starting ones. All the way over to the right is the notes section. This is a pretty open-ended area, so I'll just give you some examples of how I use it. As you can see, the first 2 takes I want full takes, recording the cue from beginning to end. For easy to medium difficulty pieces and recording with great ensembles, this is usually fine. After recording a couple of takes of the full piece, I sometimes want to record from a few specific points of the score. So if I know this ahead of time, I'll write those points right in here. Now, this is a good time to mention something. While it is important to take the time to prepare a session tracker ahead of a session, the tracker is a 3-way tool. When creating the session tracker, I fill in all the info that I have at the time, but during the session, I always have the tracker open to take notes, which helps me to stay on track and also helps me with post-production. So be willing to be flexible with this tool. All right, so back to the document. On the far right are lots of little notes about specific takes that I want to record. If I don't have any virtual instruments to mix in later, then I sometimes like to get a take without the click, as the musicians can play freer that way, and it can sometimes be more musical than a recording to a click track, depending on the musicians. Once I have all the takes that I want of the full ensemble, if time allows, I also like to get takes of individual sections. So here I'm going to record the strings alone, then again without the cello solo, then the cello solo only, and after that strings half sordino. The half sordino approach can be a beautiful way of adding a nice silky sound to a piece, and can also be useful for double tracking to avoid phase issues. After tracking all variations of string combinations, I'm going to move on to recording the winds and brass separately. Obviously, there are infinite possibilities when recording a piece, and it's always going to come down to how much time you have, and most importantly, the specific sound that you're going for. In any case, a session tracker can be your best friend when preparing for your next session, so give it a try.